Welcome back to MMAoddsBreaker. Today we got my broadcast partner. It's been a minute since we worked together, Joe Ferraro, Showdown Joe. It's been kind of a little bit of a roller coaster ride for you. We had a great job on a great network up there in Canada, and then the UFC switched networks, and now you can see Joe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Am I correct, Joe? Over on MMA Junkie as a video contributor. It is great to see you back, especially because down in the States, I couldn't see anything you were doing because I'm geo-blocked, which was I had to keep calling you and Bobby and trying to find out, hey, how can I watch this? Now I can see you all the time at MMA Junkie. How's it been, the transition coming over to MMA Junkie?
Well, first things first, it's great talking to you again, bro. Like it's been a long time. I know we text each other, but we don't always get face to face, even though it's over the internet. But it's always a pleasure seeing you. It's been a tough transition. It was something I wasn't expecting. I mean, when the deal ended with the UFC at Sportsnet, if I had, 200 people saying, don't worry, when it goes over to the other network, you're going to be fine. And I was the only one that said, it doesn't work that way. Television broadcasting isn't just seamless from one station to another. It's a completely different ballgame. And it didn't happen. So I had to try and figure out plan B. And, I've got some really close friends, guys like you and other people that were like, hold on a second. Let's figure this out. So I called over the guys over at MMA Junkie, and it was perfect timing. They were looking for some video, and like you said, being geo-blocked, a lot of the people outside of Canada really never got to see what I do or what we did at UFC Central and at Sportsnet. So whenever guys and girls would come up to Canada to cover a UFC event, and they're sitting in their hotel room or the bar, and they're flipping through the channels, and then they would see Sportsnet, and then they would see UFC Central. Literally, they would stop and they're like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. And I'm like, well, it's not me that's amazing. It's an overall product. I might be the face of it, but it's a mainstream network. Like mainstream is mainstream. It's like, you're talking about ESPN and Fox and stuff like that. You're going to get a high quality product. The problem is when we put it online, you couldn't see it outside of Canada. So those that did see me realized, oh my God, you guys got some good stuff going on there. So I said to myself, let me call Junkie, let me see what's going on. And it was perfect timing because they were looking to add video to their site. And I said, well, here's some options that I've been working on myself. I got a graphics team, I got a sales team, I got a bunch of things that I'm working on. What about this? And they were like, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. So the deal came together pretty quick, put together some demos. They loved it. Boom, I'm up there. So MMA Junkie and USA Today. And if you think you and I are sticklers for quality, Frank, those guys over there, I thought I was a perfectionist. No. These guys, from the smallest of a graphic not being where it needs to be, it comes right back to me. You got to change this. Done, change, and send it. Like, they are absolutely amazing when it comes to quality. Absolute perfectionists.
Yeah, Dan Stump, when I worked for him, when of course Tag Radio was on there, then we switched over to became MMA Junkie Radio when I was still on there with Gorgeous George and Brian Garcia, the Goes, that they were sticklers all the time. Verbiage and language and pattern and pacing of my speech pattern. Because, I have a bad speech impediment. Most people don't know that. And I have to work on it all the time. And so sometimes when I get lazy or tired or excited, it pops out. And Dan will be like texting me right away, hey, slow down a little bit. Or, hey, be off it. And then now, watching the website grow as it has, every single time you're getting high quality. John Morgan sometimes tells me, he's like, man, like I've had to spend an extra 2 hours today after a 12-hour day getting stuff put out there because I didn't do something. When I had in this interview, I didn't do something this way that I have to change everything over again. So yeah, they are sticklers over there, and that's great because let's be honest, the quality. And I'm gonna get yelled at by a lot of people once this thing airs.
That's a shocker.
I know, right? The quality of MMA news right now is absolutely horrific. It's horrific. The quality that some of these websites are putting out, it's embarrassing. And people wonder why certain networks don't necessarily take MMA as a mainstream sport. Don't necessarily think it's a mainstream sport because they're looking at all the filtering on the sidelines of what's going on with, I get news over here at this website, news over here at this website, and look at the quality. Like, look what we're doing. Like, this is horrible quality. Guys aren't dressed. They're not dressed for TV. They don't speak like they're on TV. They act like they're in their garage. And that's where the sport came from, but that's not where the sport is. It's a problem that hopefully, me having worked with Fox and George Greenberg over at Fox Sports, then working with you over in Canada at Rogers, I got to see the two best of what real TV looks like. So when I go on something else, I'm like, this is not it, guys. Like, this is horrible. We got to fix this.
Yeah, the thing is, though, it you knew it before, but it was one of those things that gets ingrained in you, and you don't go back. And that's why when I see some of these guys that have great content, visually speaking, I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, for example, this is a basic example, and it's not a trade secret, Frank. You know this, but right now, to my right is my, so for those that don't know, the reason why I'm not in my office and you're not seeing the typical backdrop behind me is I've got painters in my house right now. So we're finishing off painting. We're doing some renovations and stuff like that. And I can't turn Frank down. When Trigg calls, you figure something out. So behind me, you can't see the paint cans on the floor. But I'll tell you this. To my right is my sliding door that goes to my backyard. If I was to turn my computer around, which is what a lot of guys do, is they have a massive light behind them, and then they get dark in front of them. That is horrible. What you want is the light in front of you and the light over top of you some way so you get light on your face. That's the smallest thing when it comes to video blogging, that I look at some of the guys out there and I'm like, what are you doing? Just go the other way, right? And if you have nothing, so for example, I got a wall here with the paintings that are down, obviously, because the paint is drying. If I was going to use that wall, which would have been much better for the light coming in, I'd put a UFC poster there, or an MMA poster, or a picture of you and I when we were in Vegas or whatever, something behind me, not a blank wall. The little small things that these web bloggers can just enhance, and above all, look good. You know what I'm saying? Like, put a collared shirt on or something. Like, don't sit there with your tank top and stuff like that. You can, listen, I'm not telling people what to do. They can do whatever they want, but you got to think quality, because if that doesn't work, like you said, there's networks out there that still look at the sport and say, it's not a mainstream sport. This is a joke of a sport. When we all know it's not. It's been on Fox forever, Sportsnet for years. It's on TSN now in Canada. It's a mainstream sport, but other people out there look at it and say, nah, these are a bunch of guys that belong in a garage.
It is kind of silly how, and it's unfortunate the way the sport has grown so quickly. There's a lot of people that weren't educated. I got lucky because, like I said before, I had George Greenberg and Jay Glazer in my ear every day, telling me how to get ready. Dennis Kirkpatrick every day, like, you got to have a sport coat on. You got to have a. Sometimes I didn't have a tie on, but I always had a dress shirt on. Not a golf, not a 3-buttoner like I have on now. I'd have a full button-down shirt on every single time I came on camera. And so now, whenever there's a camera on, it's like, okay, I got to pack. So I tell Jill, hey, we got to pack a suit. We have to pack 3 or 4 sport coats. We have to pack a couple of different outfits because I'm gonna be on camera a lot. And she's like, every time I'm on camera, I have to be dressed. And so, like, we just did an appearance for a charity event for autism up in Pueblo, Colorado, and I was like, we kept asking, is this going to be televised? Is it going to be on air? Is it going to be, what's happening? What's going on? And I'm like, no, it's not going to be televised. And I kept asking, are you sure? And then finally, Reggie Garcia, the guy that was hosting it, was like, hey, why do you keep asking? I go, because if it's on TV, I have to be dressed. If it's not, I can come in jeans and a T-shirt, I'm fine. But if it's going to be on TV in any way, I got to be dressed. He's like, I just can't be on TV without it. It's amazing how many people come on right now in our sport that aren't dressed that way, And I don't want to say anything. It's not Dana White's fault, but he does the weigh-ins in a T-shirt and jeans because he's comfortable, he's casual. He comes in and he'll do a lot of interviews in T-shirt and jeans. And so everyone's like, oh, it's okay to be in T-shirt and jeans. When you're interviewing Dana White, what are you wearing?
I'm in suit and tie.
What is Dana wearing?
Whatever he wants.
It's
honestly,
like, you still have to be dressed. It's the president. You got to be dressed to talk to the president. That's how it works. It's like, I don't understand it. It's my soapbox. It's just I'm going to get back on a tangent again. I don't want to waste time on that because we really need to talk about UFC Fight Night coming up tomorrow night. This one is tough for me because, when it comes to my friends, I'm biased. When it comes to my training partners, I'm biased. I always pick my guys because I work with them. I see their passion and their heart and their soul. Brad Tavares and Robert Whittaker. Brad is a great guy, an amazing guy. Has actually helped me in Hawaii. Like he is here in Vegas. I'm in Hawaii, and I'm trying to get something done. Brad, I don't know what to do. Whatever. Oh, here, call this guy. Call this guy. Call this guy. I'm like, who are they? Don't worry about it. Just call him. Hey, Brad gave me your number. Oh yeah, he told me to call him. Boom, boom, boom. Here, like he's one of those guys. He goes out of the way to take care of you. So I'm obviously leaning towards Brad, who's ranked 14th right now. According to the UFC. You're looking at a 13-4 Brad Tavares, a 14-4 Robert Whittaker. Record-wise, it's very close. You look at TKO, KO record, though, Robert has 50% knockout. TKO ratio versus only 31% for Brad. But how do you see this fight breaking down? And give it to me straight. We're going to argue over this one because I'm going to keep hammering on Brad. But how do you see this fight breaking down?
But the slightest of edge, I'm going to give it to Brad. So I'm going to agree with you there. The thing is, Robert Whittaker, his striking, I think, is just completely different than Brad's because he's a very, very aggressive striker. He's very, very busy. He has a 91% takedown defense rate, which means if Brad wants to take this fight down to the ground, there may be a problem. The thing is with Robert Whittaker is, again, he's moving up to middleweight. I know he won his last fight at middleweight, which is fine. Brad's been there for a long time. Brad's got power. Brad can take a lot, but you don't want to take a lot with a guy. Now, the other thing, I think Brad's got a 1-inch reach advantage and 1-inch height advantage.
Yes. They're
both orthodox. That's going to neutralize each other. The fact is Whittaker is going to be busier, in my opinion, and I think he's going to try and dictate this. Brad, I think, has the power here, and I think he has to use that power collectively in terms of throw the combination. If it doesn't work, Frank, you got to angle out and say, okay, let's just reset. You can't reset all the time with Robert Whittaker because he's in your face. He's in your face. He's in your face. I think through experience, if Brad can punish him, close the distance, work that clinch game, a lot of dirty boxing. I know Whittaker has great underhooks and he's able to push off. He's got great hips, but he's got to make it a dirty fight. I think if he keeps this a boxing and striking fight, I will give the edge to Whittaker. If he makes it a dirty fight, Tavares should win this fight.
Now, the one thing, this is, you guys can see all this on UFC.com. If you click on it, they have a very good breakdown of a record, TKO, KO, sub, decision, height. They also give you the landed per minute, which for me is a big thing I look at because I want to see how busy somebody is. Brad's at 3.12 when it comes to landed per minute, opposed to Robert's 4.74. So landing punches per minute, as he's talking about per minute, they're smacking you almost 5 times versus just over 3 times. That's a huge difference in a 5-minute round. That's a lot of different strikes coming at you, a lot of business, especially because we're talking about clinch game, we're talking about the takedown game. There's a lot of things happening to somebody at that time. Robert is a lot busier, but Brad's got that Ray Cephalo style of kickboxing where you think you're coming at him, all of a sudden he takes a quarter step off to the left, quarter step off to the right, all of a sudden you're getting bang, bang, banged again, and so you're throwing punches, all of a sudden he's right here in front of you throwing punches, and then he's not here, and you're throwing punches to a guy that's over here now. And so you're getting angled off to the side. Brad's been working a lot on his footwork, a lot on his speed. He's doing a lot on his footwork, foot speed, that's going to help him get off to the side a little bit more. But I got to agree with you. If it becomes a boxing match, like a straight-up old-fashioned dirty boxing match, which Brad can get sucked into, it's going to go to Robert. Brad's got to make it a dirty, grappling, MMA style, putting a guy down, beating him up, kind of old school, schoolyard kind of a brawl to make it worth anything. Do you see Brad being able to knock Robert out or being able to sub him?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see why not. I could say it both ways. I mean, both guys do have the skills. But in my opinion, Brad can win a striking battle here. Let's not kid ourselves. Right. He can do it. I just don't like the way Whittaker uses his length, especially his jab, and the way he follows up with everything, because he'll throw a jab and a left hook, which is bad for a guy that's stationary. It's bad for anybody in general. You don't move, you're going to get hit. But the way Whittaker strikes, I absolutely love it. For Brad, like I said, dirty, 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 dirty. And, I mean, you look at some of the stats from Fightnomics, okay? Mm-hmm. You don't need a double leg takedown. You need a clinch. If you can clinch, then you got your takedown. Your takedowns are tons of takedowns are available from the clinch, even up against the cage. You can't give Whittaker space. I think if you give Whittaker space, you're going to have problems. The other stat that we should look at, because it skews everything, is Whittaker gets hit a lot. Okay, yeah. And with Brad's power, if he hits him, things change right away. So if he can work on that, and if he's not hitting him, he's got to change a game plan. You tell me Brad's kicks. What are Brad's kicks like in training? Can he swing? Can he turn the hip over? Can he land that kick? Because you start landing the kick early and often, it's going to slow Whittaker down.
Brad is the one that uses his kicks later. He won't come at you right away with kicks. He's going to use his hands, use his foot motion, and then he's going to kind of take his time. And then when you think like all you're worrying about now is hands, all of a sudden, bang, your leg gets kicked out. Now, mind you, I'm left-handed, so when I'm battling with Brad, I'm getting inside leg kick all the time. And that's typically what I do as well to a right-handed guy. I'm inside leg kicking him because our power leg goes to the lead leg. It comes around to the front, and that's the closest leg for us to hit. So he hits me late, but he hits me often. So like in the beginning of the round, I'm just worrying about hands, worrying about not getting clubbed to death because he's got big, meaty hands. Then all of a sudden we get the kicks is around the 2-minute mark, the 3-minute mark of that round. Then all of a sudden I'm starting to get kicked, but I was worrying about his hands the whole time. Now I'm getting hurt. When he starts throwing his kicks, it's the best time because he moves his feet. He's off steps, off angles, bangs you, puts his leg down, and moves off again. He actually moves better the more he kicks. He's out of the way more. I have a feeling he's going to have to do that with Robert very early. He's going to start kicking and get out of the way very quickly. His kicks are tremendous when he decides to use them that way, but he uses them a lot for setting a guy up to make him stop moving. Because you start getting kicked, you want to stop moving.
Did he train with Ray for this fight?
Oh yeah, Ray's over there now. Ray had to go to Sweden, and We're talking, of course, for folks who know, we're talking about Ray Sefo. He had to go. He was in Sweden and had to go someplace else before that. So he was like in and out a little bit, and now they're all over in Australia. He got their. I think Ray got their. He got back from Sweden like Sunday, or excuse me, like last week Friday, and then left Saturday to go to Australia. Like
The reason why I ask is if I'm Ray, and obviously I'm not Ray Sefo because it's Ray.
You have a smaller head and you're not Samoan, so yeah.
But what I'm saying is the first thing I would think about if I'm fighting Robert Whittaker is I'm not afraid of the takedown. What do you take me down to the ground? You want to grapple? Okay, let's do it. That's what I want. So I'm going to be using kicks a lot. I mean, I would do whatever I can, whether it's inside, outside, or anything. Body kicks. Okay, start hurting this guy. Because what are you going to do? Take me down? Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
If I'm sparring you, Frank Trigg, number one, southpaw. I hate you already because I'm going to get clocked no matter what. You're going to hit me with the left hand no matter what. But I know you're a wrestler. I'm not throwing kicks. Well, I'm going to use my angles, right? But if I'm fighting a guy who's not a wrestler, or let's say I'm at the gym and I'm sparring a guy that I know isn't going to take me down, kicks, man. Kicks. And if you want to take me down and I think I'm a better grappler than you, all right, let's do it.
Okay, so we're both taking Brad Tavares.
I'm going to give the edge to Brad, yeah.
Slight advantage to Brad, but if it becomes a boxing match, it's going to be Robert Whittaker, so hold your breath for the first 2.5 minutes. Yep. But let's not forget, Robert takes 4 punches to give you 2. That's his style. He gets hit a lot.
Brad's got power.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. This fight's going to be an interesting fight. Let's see how both these guys pull out. And I'm surprised this entire card's on Fight Pass. To me, these 2 main events should be on a big card, but maybe they're trying to increase the viewership on Fight Pass. I don't know. Because, let's be honest, it is Miocic and Hunt a Fight Pass fight. It doesn't make sense to me. Like this, it shouldn't be on Fight Pass. This should be a Fox fight. This really should be a Fox fight. How do you see Miocic and Hunt breaking down?
Well, okay, so I did a video for Junkie. It's up now. It's called The Edge, Miocic versus Hunt. Mm-hmm. Anytime Hunt is an underdog, that is value, okay? Yeah. That is value. You probably want to put a couple of dollars on Hunt. But Miocic has a youth factor. He just went 5 rounds with Junior Dos Santos, and people can say, you know what, he took a lot of damage. But you can also look at it and say that's experience garnered, okay? Yeah. Against a guy like Mark Hunt, who's going to have the whole arena behind him, or at least 99.9% of that arena behind him. He's going to be very motivated. I don't think that's going to bother Stipe at all. I think Stipe is going to go in there, have a job to do. But in this fight here, Stipe also has to make it dirty. The problem with making it dirty with a fighter that has smaller reach or smaller reach than you is you're going to get hurt. You're going to get tagged, but you have to. Now, you can use your reach, but Mark Hunt, in 85 to 90% of his career fights, has fought everybody who's got longer reach than him and is taller than him. So he does well no matter what. So you've got to A, use your reach, B, get in there and punish him. No space. No space for Mark Hunt. Ask Fabrizio Verdum what happens if you give him space. You're going to get dropped. I know Fabrizio won, but don't give him space, because if you give him space, that's what Mark needs, despite the lower reach advantage. So in my opinion, take away the space, also make it dirty, keep Hunt against the cage if you can, and punish him there, knees and elbows, and do what you got to do, and then work it from there. It's 5 rounds. It's 25 minutes. Yeah. You don't have to do this in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You can do it in 15, 20, or 25. Use the time wisely. Don't give Hunt any space. Miocic walks away with a victory.
I think Stevie's going to have to make this a lot of takedown stuff to make Mark tired. The only time you get Mark really tired, because he's so much stand-up experience, is you've got to get him on the ground. You can't clinch him and press him against the cage. You can't drag on him or hold him down. We've seen it with Stephen Struve. He was trying to lean on him and tire him out, and Mark looked like he was tired, but that's a kickboxer's style. Like, they'll get in there and get leaned on. They get leaned on the whole time. It doesn't bother them. Once you gave him space, he smashed him. You know, that's just how it goes.
But look at the Hunt and Silva fight, Bigfoot Silva fight. Hunt can go 5 rounds as hard as you want, but you don't want that. You're going to lose that battle.
You got to get him down underneath.
To lose that battle.
Yeah, for sure. He's a guy that you look at him and you're like, you're frumpy, you're dumpy, you're kind of fat. You're like a blonde-haired version of Fedor Emelianenko with a goatee. Like this, it's like you have the body type that doesn't really make any sense for what we think as a professional athlete, and then he breaks your jaw. And he has a body sense of, you're like, this guy's got nothing on it, and he kicks you in your knee, and your whole leg gives out. It's like he's just one of those guys that knows how to use his height, his lack of reach, and his power amazingly well. We're talking about lack of reach. We're talking a reach of 76 inches for Stipe to 70 inches for Mark. My reach is longer than Mark's, but I'm not fighting him. You're crazy. That guy can take a punishment, give out punishment, and makes things hurt. For Mark to win, though, he just needs to keep it on the feet. Just stay off his back. If he gets on his back, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him. He's got to keep it on his feet. So for me, really, it's a wrestling advantage that Stipe has without giving him space, like you said, is how Stipe is going to win this fight. This is number 4 versus number 5 in the weight class, in a weight class that needs more stars. It needs more people to step up and stand up and bring this game up and kind of take some of the heat on the other weight classes where we have champions having to be released from their contracts, and we've got bad things happening to them because they're running away from certain things. That this is a fight that needs to be seen by a lot more people, which to me is like, why is it on Fight Pass? This is an amazing, high quality, high action, and it's going 5 rounds. This thing's going to go 5 rounds. It's now a question of, does Mark have enough to win 3 of the 5 rounds? Does he have enough to keep it and win it to win it? Do you think Mark can win 3 of these 5 rounds to get the decision on it? Because I don't see this thing. Either guy's too tough to be finished.
To be honest with you, if this thing goes 5 rounds, I think I'm going to give it to Hunt because he can win 3 of the 5. It means Stipe can't execute a game plan that many believe he should be executing. It potentially means he could be failing at trying to get the takedowns, failing in the clinch. Again, I'll throw the leg kicks out there as well. I mean, yeah, you're kicking a tree stump, but consider it an axe. You don't need one kick to break his legs. You don't need one kick to hurt him. You need multiple kicks. It's not like Hunt hasn't ever taken a kick before. He's taken thousands of kicks over his career, but it's a fight and you got to do it. In my opinion, standing and banging with Mark Hunt is a recipe for disaster. If you do that, I think it's ego, and if you don't check your ego on the outside of the octagon, you tend to get hurt. Now, Stipe's gone 5 rounds with Junior Dos Santos. Junior Dos Santos defeated Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt's gone 5 rounds with Bigfoot Silva. Mark Hunt's knocked out Roy Nelson. There's so much MMA math here that none of it makes sense. Yeah. Okay? Crystal Ball tells me that Stipe Miocic, if he's going to win, it'll be 3rd, 4th round. If this thing goes 5, I think Hunt probably pulls us off.
I was saying that Stipe is going to win it in 5 rounds is my pick on a decision because he's going to have to lay on top of him for 2 rounds. On his feet, it's almost going to have to be Mayweather-Pacquiao all over again because if you get in a brawl with Mark, you're going to get hit. So he's going to have to pitter-patter and run away and pitter-patter and run away until they can get him, so you can get Mark chasing him down to get the easy takedown in. Because taking a guy down like Mark Hunt, it seems easy and it sounds easy on paper. Then you actually try to get in and grab a hold of one of those legs.
No way.
It's all ass. It's all ass. And it's from a wrestling term. When you wrestle some guys like, Jesus, he's all ass. It means that as soon as you get hold of the leg, you feel all of his weight on you at one time. All 300 pounds is just dropping on that one shoulder of yours. And you're like, dude, this guy's all ass. And that's what Mark is. When you touch him, he drops all of his weight on you at one time. It's a horrible position to be in. I really, really am fearful for Stipe the first couple of rounds when Mark is fresh. Once he gets tired, it's going to be easier.
You tell me, with your wrestling background, I don't think a double leg is going to work on Mark. I don't think a single leg is going to work on Mark. I think the only thing that works on Mark Hunt, because of his low center of gravity, are trip-based takedowns. You got to trip the guy. You got to fuse his feet. You got to make sure his feet sort of cross. Mm-hmm. You trap him against the cage, or you get him going backwards or to the side because no one can run backwards. No one can run backwards properly. No one can run side to side properly. You can only run forward. So, in my opinion, I don't think a double leg will work. I don't think a single leg will work, but if you can trip him, it's your best chance to take him down on the ground.
Against the cage is a different game. So it's like he can get single legs and double legs against the cage because there's no place for a guy to go. You can grab his legs out and pull him up from underneath him. John Jones versus Cormier.
You're not lifting up Mark's leg.
Well, you're not gonna be able to lift him up. You're gonna be able to suck him out from like his ankles and suck him out from his knees, like pull him out, and he's gonna slide down the cage. You're not gonna lift him up and drop him like a big double leg. That's not gonna happen. In the open field, there's only 2 takedowns that are really going to work for Stipe's style and the way that Mark fights. The tripping base, like you just said, or it's a single leg swing around behind where he's going to have to circle all the way around behind him on a single leg and do a double leg from behind. It's the only thing that's going to work on Mark because he doesn't have enough wrestling experience to understand when a guy's spinning behind you to keep facing. And Stipe has that wrestling experience, but it takes a lot of energy to do that. It's a tiring takedown for very low reward. Because you got a guy, you run around behind him. You've got behind his legs. Now you're attacking both knees. You're doing a double leg essentially from behind him. You're driving him down. Mark flips over on his back and it lifts his knees up, and you're in his guard. So you've done all this work to get a guy on his back to end up in his guard. It's a huge amount of energy for very little reward. you're like, oh, this is just stupid. And what are you gonna do? Hit Mark from on his back? Like that's not. If you're in his guard, hitting him on his back, he's just gonna whatever. We're good. We're fine. So it's stupid to do. So you're right. On the feet, open territory. The only thing that's gonna work is a tripping base takedown for Stipe. And of course, it's a fight. Mark can slip on a banana peel at some point. In the middle of a kick, Stipe could step at a weird angle, and Mark just slips out from underneath, and falls down. That's totally possible. And then catches an elbow on the way in. We could all see that quick cutting knockout. I do think this fight's going to be very close. It's going to be 3 rounds to 2. I'm still picking Stipe if it goes a distance. You're saying distance is Mark Hunt, but Stipe, if it goes to a finish, if there's a finish involved, Stipe's going to get the finish early. Do you think he's going to get it before the 3rd round or after the 3rd round? Stipe.
Honestly, not to say Stipe doesn't have the power to knock out Mark Hunt. It's Mark Hunt, man. I mean, the guy's jaw is infused with asphalt in there. I mean, you can't really hurt this guy. I think you have to punish him for a very long time, and I think it's going to take more than 15 minutes. I think it's going to be, close to the end of the 3rd. I mean, crystal ball thinking right now, championship rounds, man, 4th to 5th round. I think he's going to have to finish him, especially, not to say the judges are going to be swayed by the crowd, but if Mark Hunt for every Hunt, it's like the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight. Every time Pacquiao threw something, the crowd would go nuts because it was a very large Filipino-based crowd, right? And the same thing with Mark Hunt. Everything he's going to throw, especially a heavyweight, the crowd's going to ooh and ah, whether it lands or not. So depending on where the judges are sitting, octagon side, that was a strike that could have landed, or he's being aggressive, whereas he's not really landing anything. So Stipe has to connect, and I think he's not that he has to finish him, Frank. I think it's beneficial for everyone that's watching the fight and for Stipe's career to finish him, but I think he's got to finish this guy off in the 3rd or 4th round, 5th perhaps. Can't go the distance with Mark Hunt. Not in Australia. I'm not saying the judges will be swayed, but you just never know. Judges are humans. As you know, judging is subjective. You don't want to be that guy that makes the mistake. If it's a close round, give it to the hometown guy. Finish the fight, man. Just finish the fight if you can.
Let's talk about Mayweather-Pacquiao. Do you want to see a rematch in a year from now once Pacquiao's shoulder's fixed?
Well, I can tell you this. I have no business judging boxing at all. And I had this conversation with Big John McCarthy the day after the fight because I didn't get home in time to watch the first, I think it was 4 rounds. Okay. By the time I was able to tune in, it was round 6 and on. And not having watched boxing the way I used to watch boxing, because when my UFC mixed martial arts career started, that's all I focused on. Okay, I can watch boxing, but my brain thinks, well, there's a kick there, there's a takedown there, clinch with him there, don't do that. It's like my brain doesn't look at boxing anymore. It's the same thing when I'm watching Metamoris or any Abu Dhabi or grappling or anything grappling-wise. You're watching grappling, you're watching submission-based fighting, but I see a punch. I see, if you throw a couple punches to the head, he's going to drop his right leg. You can pass on that side there. My brain is always thinking MMA. So here I am watching Mayweather and Pacquiao and thinking to myself, well, Pacquiao's being very aggressive here. Technically, he's winning this fight. And I couldn't see properly in terms of, Mayweather counterfighting, and whenever he would throw something, he would land something. So as the rounds would go by, my head was going, well, Pacquiao won that round. Well, Pacquiao won that round. And Twitter's popping up, and another round for Mayweather. And I'm like, another round for Mayweather? What's happening here? So the next day I'm talking to John McCarthy, and he's like, your brain, you're fused for mixed martial arts now, Joe. You got to rewire your brain if you want to start watching boxing as a judge. Yeah. So here I am as a certified ref and judge like you are, and I'm doing it wrong for boxing. And I'm like, that's why I'm certified in MMA, because I can see an MMA fight and judge it accordingly. So I'm looking at this Mayweather-Pacquiao fight and thinking to myself, I'm doing this all wrong. What am I doing wrong? And John re-explained everything. This is what they look for in boxing. This is what you need to look for. And I'm like, that sucks. Like, that's not fighting, in my opinion. Like, fighting to me is being aggressive. And even though he's missing, he's trying to win that fight. Now, if you're watching the fight, Frank, and you're there, and you can see that Mayweather, is only throwing 10 punches around, but 9 of those punches are landing, and Pacquiao is throwing 25 punches around, and none of them are landing, yeah, Mayweather wins that round. It's fine. But I can't see it. So do I want to see a rematch? Yeah, because they're 2 elite level guys, and I get to by the time that rematch potentially takes place, I'll try to rewire my brain for boxing to ensure I do judge it accordingly. But it was very difficult to see, and it was very difficult to digest because I'm an MMA guy. through and through. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's what it is.
My feeling is that Mayweather's going to fight Amir Khan after he beats Chris Algieri, because I think that's going to happen. Unfortunately, I like Chris, but I think that Khan wins that one. That's Mayweather-Khan. Then Mayweather walks away at 49-0, and then Pacquiao comes back for his 50th fight, and he beats Pacquiao again and walks away at 50-0. I think that's kind of what's going to happen, but will not make him the greatest of all time. He's still Muhammad Ali will still be the greatest of all time, even at 50-0 with Mayweather, because personally, Muhammad Ali tried to finish fights. He was always trying to knock a guy out. He was always trying to put a guy down. Thing. Where Mayweather is not trying to finish a guy. He's now hunting for a record, and that's fine. I don't think Freddie Roach had a good game plan for Pacquiao. I think they didn't really analyze the film and see how he steps against left-handers and the problems he has with left-handers. I think they could have done a lot more work onto it. But I also agree with Pacquiao when he's in the post-fight interview. He goes, Max Kellerman goes, how can we accelerate 11th and 12th round? And he goes, because I thought I was winning the fight. And then Kellerman, the douchebag that he is, comes back with, hey, well, the judges and the crowd didn't think so. Well, who cares what the crowd thinks? They have nothing to do with it. Like, we don't have anything to do with it. We're not officially writing down scorecards, and the judging is subjective in boxing, just like you said, and half the judges are idiots to begin with. But that's neither here nor there. Pacquiao believed he was winning the fight because he was more aggressive, and he feels his punches are landing. Because a boxer, as he's hitting you, even though you're absorbing that punch, the hand is still hitting the body. It's still pushing Mayweather off. So those punches are landing. Even though it's been blocked by viewership, it's still doing damage to the head because he's getting hit off. And that was what was happening a lot of it. So I can tell you, I've been there where I'm like, I fucking won every single round. Like, what the hell you mean I get a split decision? How is that possible? I won every single round easily. So I understand Pacquiao's mindset. I called Big John McCarthy about 4 minutes after you hung up the phone with him. Yeah. So he was like, what is this, the bald-headed day? Like, what? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, but Joe, John and I scored it 112-116. Both of us had the same score. Because, as you know, I am reffing and judging now. I'm doing a lot in California. And I'm having to actually physically sit when I'm judging and think about what is actually happening. It's a different ballgame, and it's so much harder. And you can only judge what you see. So if the whole action is to your back, if I'm looking at this guy's back the whole time, I can't see what's happening, I can't score it. Because I physically didn't see it. It is a tough fight to look at. It is a tough thing to deal with because Mayweather's going to turtle shell up, run away, and that's what's going to happen in the next fight. He's going to win again. I hate Mayweather. I hate the way not him personally. I hate the way he fights. I hate the way his action is. But every single time he fights, I hate him. I can't stand it. What time is it on?
Hold on. For those people that are criticizing Mayweather, it's understandable because that's not your style of fighting. Renzo Gracie told me something a long time ago. When I say a long time ago, there's probably a lot of young folks that are watching this right now. This was in '96. He was up here. Yeah, he was up here. That's almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
19 years ago. Anyways, I'm old, man. He was up here doing a seminar. For those that don't know, I live in the Greater Toronto region, and I was at the seminar. And afterward, just blown away by a Gracie here, and we're doing all this stuff. And then afterwards, we're all sitting around talking and stuff like that. And he always said, he's like, the reason why I like basically counterpunching, he's like, the only person allowed to punch me or slap me is my mom. No other man is allowed to slap me. And that stayed with me. So as you know how I whenever I grapple or whenever I spar, I don't like getting hit. Number one, I do TV. I don't want you touching my face. So if I'm not sparring a guy like you who knows not to destroy my face, punch me to the body. I don't care.
Yeah.
Take kicks, whatever. But not my face. So that was something that I learned a long time ago. In being a counter fighter, you can't hit me. You're not allowed to hit me. So I don't have a problem with the way Mayweather fights. My problem is if you're going to counter fight, and that's going to be your style, you have to land more. Yeah. A lot more. You have to land more, cause damage, make it. So I had no problem with his dad freaking out on him in between rounds, saying, you got to be more aggressive. And I'm agreeing with him. Floyd saying, yeah, you know what? I believed in my heart of hearts that I was winning each round. Yeah, but that's a risk, man. That's a risk. Make it obvious. Make it obvious that you're connecting on Pacquiao's face or your opponent's face to leave no doubt that even if it's one punch, that's the difference in that round, you won that round. That's what I'm saying.
Winky Wright was a great counterpuncher.
Yes.
He never got touched. He stayed right in the pocket. He blocked every single punch. Had amazing. It wasn't just amazing blocking skill. He had great intuition of what the next punch was going to be. And he was already blocking it before he even started to throw it. And he counterpunched, and he got inside there, and he smashed you up. And Mayweather could do the same thing if he chooses to be busy with his punching. But you got to think about, like, I'm not getting touched. Like, I hit him 3 times in the first 30 seconds. I can run the next 2.5 minutes. I'm not going to get touched, so who cares? And I understand his mindset. I understand what he does because He is Pretty Boy Floyd. I mean, he really is. That's why he started, was Pretty Boy Floyd, because you couldn't touch him.
And good for him, Frank.
And
Honestly,
you still
good
can't touch him. You know, he's what, 36 now, 30, and you still can't touch him. And he should be waning. He should be coming down, and he's still that much better. So it's going to happen. We're going to see a rematch in a year from now. That's just what's going to be. It's going to be, you know, Mayweather's going to probably walk away at 50-0 and retire. That's how it's going to be. The last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here, I know I promised you 10 or 15 minutes, so we're already at 34 minutes. I apologize. Not to mention the half hour we spent talking beforehand, catching up. The new Reebok deal just came out. We got the numbers. I have a problem with it. The straw weights, they haven't had enough time. They don't have the ability to be in long enough. They're getting into, like Carla Esparza and Felice Herrig. They've got 2 fights in. That's $2,500. Carla's the former champ. She's getting $2,500. Joanne, the champ at the strawweight, she's getting $40,000. Like every champ gets $40,000. You look at a guy like Josh Berkman, new era. He's only got 2 fights in. You look at his overall record. This will be his 12th fight in the UFC coming up here in a couple weeks. So he's at a 10,000 mark. For him, he loses $3,000 or $4,000 per fight, but he's okay. He's like, it doesn't matter. I do other things. He got smart fighter. My advertisers, my sponsors can't afford to pay the UFC due to be on my shorts in a fight. So I do other things through social networking and appearances and speeches for them, so they can still sponsor me and get their value. So he's very smart about it. Timothy Kennedy comes out. Thanks, UFC, you can keep your $2,500. Scott Coker, miss your face. That's a direct slap right to the UFC from a guy that's very vocal, that's very outspoken, that I think is coming up on a contract negotiation here pretty soon. I think he may have 1 fight left or 2 fights left. Is the Reebok deal fair for everybody, in your opinion, the way they have it structured right now?
That's a tough. You know what? It's tough to say. My initial answer is no. I mean, in my opinion, I know I'm talking to a former UFC veteran that fought for the title a couple times. The more money fighters can make, the better. Yep. I mean, these guys are putting so much on the line. The problem is this is a business. And it's the UFC's business, how they choose to run things. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. If you don't like it, don't sign the contract. If you don't like it, no one is forcing you to do anything. So these fighters that are speaking out, good for them. They're taking a stand. The fighters that agree to it, good for them. They like it. This is not going to benefit everybody, and I understand that. In my opinion, and I've said this from day one, having been around this game since its inception, having managed fighters, being a former sponsor, promoter, and all that jazz there, anything I could do to put more money in the fighters' pockets would benefit me, because I'm going to have happy employees that are going to want to fight for me. Now, the UFC deal, the way it's structured with the payouts, it's tough. I mean, Kat Zingano, she can sell a lot. She could probably get a lot of sponsorship, but with only a couple fights in the UFC, now she can't. So what does she do? You know, all these fighters that only have, like you said, the strawweights, they only have X amount of fights. Is it incumbent now on them to fight more, to get more money from their sponsors? Or is it incumbent on them to start getting managers, or with themselves to getting a lot more creative and getting sponsors outside of the UFC? Everything changes. In the game of, look at you and I in broadcasting. Everything changes. I had a wonderful job, paying a very good salary. We're in May right now, so 4 or 5 months ago, I was very, very happy. The past 4 or 5 months have been very, very difficult. Yeah. Who do I blame? You know, it's up to me to say, okay, you know what? Now I got to figure this out, right? Now you're stuck in a UFC deal. You got 6 fights, 4 fights, whatever. You got to figure this out. If you're not happy and you want to say something, there could be repercussions. If you aren't happy and you want to change it, figure it out. These are the cards that you're dealt with.
Yeah.
You know, it's up to you to put the poker face on. This card that you're dealt with, you've got to figure it out. You can take a stand like Tim Kennedy did, or you can be like Tim Kennedy and say, you know what, okay, I'm only going to get $2,500. Can I get more money somewhere else? Let me talk to my manager. Can we do appearances? Can we do this? Can we do that? Can I get out there? Hey, UFC, you know what? You're not giving me what I want in sponsorship. I'm losing a lot of money. Can I come on UFC tonight? Can I do this? Can I do that? I need to raise my profile. You know, I mean, people rip Conor McGregor. Rip Conor McGregor all you want. Conor McGregor's signing deals. He's out there yipping and yapping and signing deals. He got himself a title shot. Chael Sonnen did so much. When you fought Matt Hughes, you yipped and yapped nonstop. You got yourself into a title fight. You got a rematch. It's the nature of the game. Now, not everybody can be Frank Trigg, Chael Sonnen, Conor McGregor, or guys that fight. But guess what? It's probably the best thing to do nowadays. And does it bother me, Frank, that these guys or girls are getting $2,500 in sponsorship when they could potentially get 10,000, 15, 20,000? Yeah, it does bother me, but it's the nature of the beast. It's the business of the UFC. It's the UFC's business. If you don't like it, figure it out or get out.
You don't get what you deserve. I deserved $1 million every time I fought for the amount of work I put into each fight. Oh, totally. Like before social network was huge, I was already working it. I deserved $1 million every time I fought. I never got that. I got what I negotiated. That's what we got. Okay, UFC had stronger negotiating points. I wasn't a champ. They had the money, they had the venue, they had the advertising. Okay, this is what I'm getting paid. This is just what it is. I think, personally, what's going to happen is that this is the announcement for the public. 2,500, 5,000, 7,500, 10,000. This is the announcement for the public. When you fight and you get in that locker room bonus, and you get it. For me, my locker room bonus always came in the mail. I don't know how they do it now, but mine came in the mail like 2 weeks later. I'm sitting at home all depressed and pissed off because I didn't get the championship again. And all of a sudden I got that locker room bonus, which was equal to or greater than my win bonus, which was equal to or greater than my sponsorships that I would have got paid if I had won. Like, they knew all the factors were going into these fights for me, and they always made me whole. UFC always made me whole on a loss. I always got my wins, always, because they bonused me out. I think the locker room bonus is going to go up, which is the private, unannounced, untold money that all the fighters get that don't talk about. So we see what they get paid from on their contracts for the commissions. We see what they get paid from the new Reebok deal, but we don't see what Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta want to give him, and Joe Silva and Sean Shelby want to give him at night in the locker room. I think that number is going to go up, and we're going to see a lot of happy people once this thing starts getting filtered out.
What about those guys that spoke up on Twitter ripping the UFC and the Reebok deal? What kind of locker bonuses are they going to get, even with a great victory?
Let me tell you this.
When I was looking for Pride, and Dana are going, okay, yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. In the back. They hold a grudge. And they hold a grudge for a long time, because when I was working for Pride, I had to talk against the UFC because that's what Jerry Milling wanted me to do. I got the paperwork in front of me. I ran my mouth because I had to. That's my boss. The guy that signs my check is telling me what to say. Back then it was Vanderlei Silva versus Chuck Liddell. That's what we wanted. Pride versus UFC battle. That's what we wanted. And Dana still, we're talking, what was that, 10 years ago? 12 years ago? Dana still, it reminds me about it every time I see him. Like, gives me a little thumb. Like, he remembers that stuff. He remembers you speaking out against him. But the guys like Chuck, Matt, who are super loyal to him, are retired and have jobs with the UFC and getting paid millions of dollars per year to do essentially networking stuff for the UFC that I do right now sitting around on my own. Like, they're getting paid to do this kind of stuff. So yes, Tim Kennedy, if he decides to stay with the UFC, then they get a very small locker room bonus. And he's going to get whatever his contract says, $2,500. That's what you're getting. That's all you're going to get.
Again, you have to give respect to guys like Tim Kennedy, Al Iaquinta, and guys of that nature for speaking up. You want to take a stand? Woo, all the power to you. But inevitably, take a stand, there are going to be repercussions. If I take a stand against, when I was over at Sportsnet, if I take a stand against my bosses, I'm taking a stand knowing full well I've drawn the line, and that line could mean termination. That line could be a case being built up for me against HR. Eventually, so if you want to take a step,
it's going to be interesting to see how these guys work it, and if what happens in the end. We just got to wait. We have to. It's like another thing in this whole world when we're dealing with the UFC. Even the insiders don't know what's going on the inside. We have to wait and see what's really going to happen. We have to kind of the deal starts in July. We'll kind of have to wait around till, my guess is September, November. To kind of go to start talking to some of these friends and go, so how was it? Oh, I don't like $2,500. But why aren't you complaining about it then? Oh, my locker room bonus. Oh, okay, all right.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
all right. We'll keep it quiet then. Okay, that's fine. That's what's going to happen. So I really do think we'll see a lot of happy people, because UFC doesn't want to start losing guys in contract negotiations going over to Bellator. They don't want to see that happen. They don't want to see guys leaving going to World Series of Fighting. They don't want to see that happen. They want to see their main stars, their big name guys, and the guys with severe value staying with them. So I think they're going to make everybody whole in the background, in my opinion. But we'll wait and see. All right, Joe. Thanks so much, man. Sorry, we are literally double the time of what I said we were going to be on. I apologize for that, and I know you got a lot of work to do. Say hi to your wife and kiss your baby boy for me. All right, and we'll talk. And what we'll do now, hopefully, depending on what happens with you here in the near future, I have a feeling that we might not be able to have access to you here pretty soon. That you will be tied up all the time. That we'll have you on hopefully every couple of weeks to come down and break down the main event, co-main event, while the fight's coming up for me and MMAoddsBreaker.
Listen, man, you know the drill. You call me, you text me, we'll figure something out. I don't care where I am. Always have time for you. And I think what needs to happen is we need to get in the gym, settle our differences. I'll take my lumps. I'll put a headgear on, whatever. We'll get this taken care of.
We'll put a headgear on you. I'll wear a Lucha Libre mask. And then,
Bobby Torrens, that will be the ref.
I'm screwed then. I'm screwed. Like, there's no way. It's like, it's like Bayless being the ref for Mayweather. Like, no matter what you do now, you're stuck. Got him. Getting hammered already. Thanks, Joe, man. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure, man.